All right. Hello there, MGTOW. Today, I want to talk about a topic that very rarely makes its debut in the MGTOW community. And that is the subject of kids, right? We all know, I mean, if you've been watching these videos for a while, we all know that, MGTOW, the men going your own way philosophy, brings you the idea that you should not marry, you should not form a committed partnership or relationship with a female, and you should not cohabitate with them. And another big part of that, of our philosophy, is not having children if you can help it, until you're ready to do so, and you want to do it. You don't let her just be the one to make the decision, because it affects you too, big time. So, kids, I see that there are some MGTOW content providers out there that miss their kids, and that's okay. It's a wonderful thing to miss somebody. It's only natural. And some of these guys miss their kids so bad that they cry on camera. I've certainly cried for my kids on one occasion or another. But we have to keep things in perspective, and we have to think about how the original, I shouldn't say the original MGTOW, but the MGTOW man who originally did not want kids thinks. We have to think about those, like how those guys think. And you say, well, what do you mean, sweet padre? Again, it's all a matter of keeping things into perspective. Kids can be wonderful human beings. They're wonderful because they're innocent, But that doesn't mean that they're incapable of doing harm. Kids, they lie openly, they're selfish. And I know I'm gonna get a few dislikes on this video because of the things I'm saying about kids, but these things are true. I have kids, and I've dealt with plenty of kids throughout my lifetime, and many of these things are true. If you ever had to take care of kids for a while, you know that what I'm saying is just absolutely true. Kids are people. Kids are people, right? And they know not of morality. They learned morality at first, anyways. They don't know about the learned morality that we are exposed to, or that we've been bombarded with for decades as an adult. And so they're free. They fight for toys. They swear if you allow them to swear. Use profanity, of course, vulgarities. They use vulgar language. Kids can be also dirty, right? They just have no concept of being clean. Now, these are all things that we learn throughout time. But what makes kids beautiful is that, of course, again, they are innocent, right? They mean no harm for the most part. But these are some of the drawbacks. Another thing to consider is the fact that kids are a huge financial drain to you. They are a huge dent in your pocketbook. Now, they are not guilty of, you know, having been brought to the world by a carousel riding mama. And it's unfortunately that many times they do suffer. You know, kids nowadays, well, they've always been abused, and you know, sometimes it's unfortunate. Most of this abuse, I want to say, is physical, but some of it is sexual, and it's not sometimes unfortunate. It's always unfortunate when kids are abused. You know, they can easily become victims. But kids can also they can also cause harm. They can be trained for war. They're cheap as soldiers, and they're capable of becoming monsters, just like regular adults. Their brains are not developed fully, and of course, because of that, legally speaking, we think of them differently. We acknowledge that, you know, they do not have the capacity to consent to certain things, and we treat them differently because of that. Now, with that said, let me say this: kids in developed nations, and I'm not gonna name a particular geographical territory here, but kids in most developed nations are super spoiled. If they don't have the latest toy or the latest gadget, many of them are just even abusive towards their parents. On top of that, you know, it's having kids is overrated nowadays. I mean, we've always had the ability to reason, and but nowadays we can justify not having kids simply based on current economic conditions in most countries of the world. It's tough to make a living nowadays, especially with women working. You know, there's so many people competing for that, you know, whatever the currency is in your country, you know, that it just makes no financial sense to have kids. Unless you happen to own a lot of land or be a nomad family and you need kids to survive, right? In colonial America, kids were seen as just that, kids. The concept of teenagers did not exist. And you were either a kid, and that didn't mean you didn't have responsibilities. You know, kids, they tended, you know, they cared for cattle, they tended to plants, they washed clothes at times. Of course, that was the job of women for the most part, to bring the hot water up from the river, you know, the water up from the river, heated up with stones or over the fire, and, you know, wash clothes and set them on the grass to dry and all that. But kids, they also fed the pigs. I mean, they did all kinds of work around the farm, and they were responsible enough that they could be trusted with a rifle, with a small rifle, you know, to hunt the animals or this or that. They weren't the spoiled kids of today, you know, the infantilized teenagers of today. Now, in other countries of the world, kids still do an amount of chores. They're responsible for chores that American kids can't even dream of doing. Oops, did I say American? I'm sorry, I just happen to live here. But anyways, yeah, girls you know, at age 12, 13, they're already taking care of their little brother and sister, you know, and by taking care, I mean not just watching them, you know, flicking a remote, you know, control and ordering pizza. I mean, they're doing the cooking for those kids. They're washing the clothes for their small brother or sister. And, you know, mom has other responsibilities. Of course, they're always less than the man's, but that's how it is in other parts of the world. So let's not infantilize kids, and let's not have this idea that they're super pure, that they're incapable of harming anybody, and this and that. And the other thing is that as we get older, you know, those kids, you know, you'll notice that they're basically borrowed. You know, you even if you live with them for most of your life, most of their life, it would seem, you know, their life as kids, of course, it would seem as though they're just there for a moment. Time flies, and as they grow up, especially if you're the kind of person that does not like to debate and reason things out with your children, they will challenge you on many topics, and that's perfectly normal. Some things, you know, some views can be debated forever, right? Some things can be debated forever, and that's perfectly fine, because you don't want kids to be a clone of you, right? And so they'll become Republicans if you're a Democrat. They'll become agnostic if you're pious. They'll have their different opinions about diet and manners of, you know, ways of dress, and you name it, right? So that's that. They won't. What I'm bringing this up because your kids won't be there forever for you. They're gonna grow up, and many will marry. Right? Many will go off with their partner. They'll go off to college before that, and then after, of course, they may meet someone and move to a different part of the country or a different part of the world, and you're left alone again. Think about that. Last but not least, as we get older, and you can go to the nearest nursing home you can find and ask around. Your kids, they're all, you know, they're again, they're people. You know, they're not necessarily going to be as nice as you wish them to be. You know? So keep all that in mind. Keep the idea of having kids into perspective, what it really means, you know, and go from there. Let's not have this idealistic view of children, because that's just simply not how things work. Especially with what we know about women nowadays, right? The MGTOW community, what we know about women nature. So, you know, your little girl, your little princess is gonna grow up to be a woman, and it's her nature, and you can't do anything about it. You can advise her on certain things, but that's as far as you could go at times, and maybe that's as far as you should go, just advising. You don't own your kids. Neither does the mother. They're individuals, and you were just a medium that, and I mean that in a physical term, that brought them to life. That's that. Do the best you can as a parent. Give them everything you can. Show them to be grateful. You know, this is the way I do it. You can do it that way if you want. And make sure they stay out of trouble. That's about it. Let them be. You can only be free if you let them be free. If you treat them well, they'll look for you. All right, MGTOW. That's all I wanted to share with you guys today. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.